everyone. I am having Sky Vaux Fuller's mom, Sarah, join us today, and she is going to help us get to know a little bit about how to teach your kid about auditioning for multiple projects at the same time, and how to teach them how to audition and learn how to audition, like learning how to handle scripts for kids of various ages. Her daughter Sky has been with us since she was about 2. She's 11 now, and how to handle the stress of working with kids in the industry, like specifically working with them to get them to memorize lines for auditioning and so on. So I'm just waiting on Sarah. Sarah, where are you? Um, so yeah, so when she shows up, we're gonna go ahead and have her come on in. But Sky's been on tour with Les Mis, and at the same time having to actually learn other scripts that we've sent her, either for commercials or for movies or for other theater projects at the same time. And yeah, so here she is, and have her come on in. Hey, Sarah. Boy, that looks good behind you. Oh, you're still on mute. You're still on mute. Still 5 years into this.
Yeah, does the background look okay?
It looks great. It looks fantastic.
Ready for an audition. Well, she's coming down after this. She's practicing her lines. So
So this is fantastic. Thank you very much for doing this with me. I think we've been talking about doing this for ever now.
ever.
Yeah, because I really think that you and your experience doing this is really helpful to everybody. So, and you've been doing it so long with like Keon to begin with, and now with Sky
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Eli, even in
And Keon
between.
is now 22.
Wow.
So, long time.
Geez. So that makes me feel old, but
Oh, good. Makes me feel even older. So
yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So yeah, tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about how you go about with Sky, and teaching her how to just learn. And how, I mean, I know how I used to teach my kids, and it was always very, very frustrating. The kids got frustrated and so on, and I would be like, okay, we're going to go through this, we're going to go through this, we're going to one more time, one more time, one more time. So why don't you walk through your process with Sky?
well, there's a lot of factors that play into it. As far as she is 11 now, so the fact that she's 11 years old, she's a little more independent than when she was, learning a script when she was 6. When she was 6, you really had to like sit with her and go, because she couldn't always read the words, and you'd have to repeat the same lines over and over again. You have to give yourself a lot of time. That to me is, I still give her a lot of time because she's not as old as like someone like Keon who can pick up the lines quicker. So time is huge, and you have to spread it out because you don't want the stress. You don't want her to be like, you don't want any tears because there have been auditions with tears when you have like that crunch time, and that doesn't feel good for either one of us. So when we're doing auditions and when we're doing the prep, right now at 11 years old, she can read them herself. She can go over them herself. However, um, I like to like right now she has a two scene script, and we're gonna film scene 1 today, and either tomorrow or Sunday because it's due on Tuesday. We'll do the second scene. So you have to split it up. And we go through we like last night we ran through it. I did my read. She read hers. Like we read it together. Then we try and do it independent. We see where the problems are. A lot of times if there's a big chunk of lines, she kind of trips up on the lines, and we have to kind of do that one over and over again. And then this morning we'll go through it again before we tape. I'm lucky. She is one of those kids that she does remember lines really well.
Hmm.
for a kid that maybe doesn't have that skill, I'm just telling you, practice, 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 and you can find the line that the kid doesn't know very well, and you isolate it. And if it's really bad, a lot of times I'll put a cue card. If it's a huge monologue and the kid can't remember, if it's like, 6 lines, we did a prescription commercial one time, and it was for like cancer, these ginormous words that she couldn't pronounce. She couldn't remember the word. So I just had the word written, and she remembered by looking at the word during the audition, and she could actually say it. But if she didn't have that prompt, she wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So I know that you and I have gone over a million different ways to try to help her along and so on with making sure that like her eye line is right, and using, I've used or suggested using like sticky notes and things like that
Yeah.
and so on. What do you typically use in that case?
Oh, it would be funny if someone actually saw me doing it. Anything. Like I have a couple. Like we usually film in the kitchen. It depends on where your place that you're filming is. When we're on tour or when we're filming something and we're in a hotel, the bathroom is usually the best way to go. I put a backdrop over the shower curtain. The lights in the bathroom are super bright, so you almost don't need your ring light, depending on the hotel you're staying in. But in my own house, I use this backdrop, and I have bar stools. And a lot of times, if there's a script that has more than one character where she has to be switching back and forth, um, sometimes I'll put like the characters in the next audition she has. There's a J and a T. So the two boys' names, one begins with J, one begins with T. So I'll have a J on one chair, one bar stool, and a T on the other. Now, luckily enough, she knows which kid is saying which line, so she knows to look at J and she knows to look at T. But it's just like a little prompt like that. It doesn't, a lot of times I know sometimes parents will have like the mom and the dad read. You can do that, but a lot of times you don't have that luxury where it's only one person. So
Mm.
use a little, a cue card, it's a good an index card, a piece of paper with a marker, just write. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
So I know that she ends up doing a lot of auditions that can be, like all at the same time. How do you keep track of what needs to be done and what needs to be submitted when and all of that stuff? How do you keep track of all that?
So a lot of times I'll just make a list.
Mm.
This is due this date, this is due this date. And then from there, that's where you have to really, as a parent, take the reins and say, okay, we're studying for this one now because this one's due first. You know what I mean? That's just the way I do it. Even if there's one easier than the other, I will do. You got to get the one in first. It's a huge thing to you don't want to be late doing them in. So say you had like 4 auditions and one of them was a one-liner, but it was due like it was the last one due. I wouldn't do that. I would do the first one, then the second one, and the third one, because you don't want to blow an opportunity because you send it in late and miss it.
Mm. How now, as a manager's previous agent, I was always about like trying to get everything in within 24 to 48 hours. How important do you like look at that and go, it just need not just to get it off my plate, but just like, okay, we just need to get this in so that it's done type
Yeah.
of thing.
Oh, I would agree. I think that's kind of what I do. You just get it in.
Yeah.
And there's been times that like, and it is hard having a child that like, some parents might have their kid in hockey or their kid in gymnastics. And you have to, that I think as a parent is the hardest thing, like the micromanaging. Like, and you can't say to your agent or your manager, like, oh, Bobby has hockey practice tonight, so we can't get the audition in. If this is what you're committing to do, this is your commitment.
Mm.
So Bobby can still go to hockey practice, but guess what? When Bobby comes home, he's got to get that audition in.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. Unless you don't want to do this. I mean, you have to take it seriously. It's not like, hockey's always going to be there. I get it. They're on the travel team or whatever. But like, if this is really what you want to do, that needs to be your priority. If it's not, and you're doing it for fun, you might not get all the opportunities. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. Your agent or your manager is going to know, okay, well, we asked for this to be in and they've declined 3 auditions. You might not get that opportunity like another kid. You might miss out on something that if this is what you want to do, you might miss out. So I would always prioritize the audition. You can
Right.
still juggle your other stuff. Like
Right.
there's been times that Sky's come home when she was doing cheerleading. She was done at 8, and we would come home and do an audition.
Mm,
She had been. We practice. We read the lines on the way to the car and to practice. We read the lines on the way home, so she's memorizing. You gotta multitask. You gotta be able to do both. Even when she takes a water break, if you're at practice, hey, look at this line one more time. It sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, it works because you're drilling the lines into them at different times, and instead of all at once, then the kid's gonna freak out. You want it when you're filming, when you get your camera out and you're ready to start the audition, you want the energy to be so positive
mm.
and calm, and you want the kid to be confident with their lines. Because if they're not confident, they're going to get frustrated. You're going to get frustrated because you have to keep
True.
taking over and over. And I've been there. I've learned. I mean, I've learned this. Like, there's been, like I said, many auditions where there's lots of tears.
Absolutely. Now,
We're kind of past that now. We've learned.
yeah, no, and once again, I think one of the best learning moments from it all is her being once again back on Les Mis and having an audition that she was able to totally take control of
It was
and being
bizarre.
like, yeah, I mean, that's like a huge, huge moment where she's sitting there going, nope, I need to redo this because you weren't there to be able to help out, but she was with her aunt
And her
and
aunt knows nothing about the business.
yeah,
I had to like walk her through. Like she got me on FaceTime, and one of the other parents had their ring light, had didn't have a backdrop. It had the lights and everything, and the stand to put her phone. So she's like, "How do I put this in?" So we're like FaceTiming. I'm showing her where to put it, where the eye line is. We didn't have a background. Sky had to stand on the radiator. If someone saw her doing she's on the radiator because we used the curtain from the hotel because the bathroom shower curtain unfortunately looked like a shower curtain, so we couldn't do it. I mean, it was crazy. But she really took ownership and she told her aunt, no, 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 I didn't do that right. Or I didn't say this line right. I didn't say it this way. I didn't look this way. And her aunt was blown away. She's like, she's 11 and she would make me look at it. And, now when I do auditions with her, she's like, yeah, you figure it out. You know what you're looking for. But when she was on her own, she took the reins.
that's the best feeling to me is that you've taught her well enough to know what to look for, and what to redo and take responsibility for that. So I think that's amazing.
Who
So
knew I did that? I didn't even know I did it till it actually happened. So
yeah, I think that's great. I think that's absolutely wonderful. What do you think has been like, let's start off with like the hardest moment so far for you?
you talking about with the audition process?
The audition process, yeah, and so far.
Well, what comes to mind to me is like the example you gave when she has like a lot of auditions due all at the same time, like
Yeah.
within a couple of days, or even like two in one day. That's really, I would say, the most challenging thing because you have to figure out how you're going to get them in. And there's been time, I mean, think about it, darling. I don't really decline them. I think maybe there's been like once that she had two giant ones at the same time and we had to make a choice. But I
Right.
think that maybe it'll only happen like once. But I think that's the most challenging thing. And sometimes another challenging thing is if there's a script that has like a really long, like, monologue almost in it that she has to memorize. That can be tricky. And that's when, like I said, going back to what I said about really spreading it out because you can't expect a kid to do like like 8 lines in a row in a day. You just can't. That's not realistic. I mean, I couldn't do that.
Right. Right. No, I agree. I totally agree with you. Um, what would you do you have any other suggestions for parents who are kind of going through the same thing and or, want to get into this business and are
I would say to a parent that is just, figuring out if this is what they want to do, you have to figure out if this is really what you want to do, first of all. Okay. Like, um, and I'm not saying don't give it a shot. I think everybody who's interested should give it a shot. Because if the kid books the job, they have the best time. Like it really is. And I'm very, very blessed that my daughter has been able to book some really cool gigs, and she's gotten these experiences that motivate her to want to keep doing this. Otherwise, if tomorrow if she was like, I don't want to do it anymore, I'd be like, okay, you don't have to do it. But this is what she wants to do. This is her passion. This is her heart. And it's because she's had these wonderful experiences. So my advice to a parent would be like, don't give up. You know, you might not book the first job you get, the audition you get. You're not going to probably do the second or the third. But when you do finally book that, and if you see how excited your kid is about it, keep doing it.
Mm.
If your kid isn't excited about it, her older brother, she's a middle brother, the last job he did, he turned to me and said, I don't ever want to do this again. And he's beautiful. I mean, right? You see,
He is. He's
blonde,
absolutely
afro.
adorable.
He looks like a model. Like he looks
Yep.
like an Abercrombie model. Doesn't want to do it?
Doesn't want to do it.
That's fine. You don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So your kid will kind of follow your child's lead is basically it. And if they want to do it, you better buckle up and and get ready to prioritize these auditions.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. That's
Yeah.
the priority.
Yeah, I agree. And no, I think that's great. I think that's, and what would you say as far as like, so, because a lot of times people will come into me and be like, oh, well, I don't know if I can do this because I have a full-time job, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And I go, well, this also has to come first, because nobody's going to wait around for you to make that decision. And I've had a number of people that do full-time jobs, and then I'm like, well, you have to audition for this, and they're going and all of a sudden somebody was pinned for like a job that was in for 3 months, and I'm like, but you have to understand, you're just one day, but they want to see that you're available for the whole 3 months or whatever. So what would you say to somebody who is coming in from something like that?
You mean like as far as being able to? Okay, all right. I would audition, see what happens, because you don't know what's going to happen. You cross that bridge when you get to it. When Sky auditioned for Les Mis, and I'm a full-time teacher assistant, and then I have two other jobs. I have a PCA, and I work with individual. I'm a job coach with an individual autism. So I'm constantly working, okay? When she auditioned for Les Mis, we did it. When she got the call back, we went to New York, didn't know what was going to happen. Then she got the job offer. It was for 6 months. So 6 months, I had to figure out, how am I going to do this? And I guess what? I was scared out of my mind. I almost didn't accept the offer to be on a national Broadway tour. And I just took a leap of faith. I went out to human resources, and my job. And they gave me a year leave of absence, unpaid. I'm like, can I do this financially? I was like, you know what? This is her dream. I'm going to do it. And thank God I did, because we had the best experience that we ever had. Like that's a memory it's more than a memory. It became part of our life. And it was just, I don't even know if I can properly put into words the experience, but it was one of a kind. So you just got to do it, and you make it work. I mean, don't think too much about it, because I think you can just most people can make it happen.
Yeah. Yep, it's true. And because we've had a lot of other people who have had, not a lot of other people, but a number of other people who have been presented with similar situations where they're like, oh gosh, I have to go do this or whatever. And I go, it will work out. It will just work out.
You just
And
have to do it.
yeah,
Because
because
if you overthink it, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
yeah, it's like, it's very similar to jumping off and owning your own business, where you go, okay, I'm ready, and you just go.
It's scary.
It
I
is
get
scary.
it.
Yeah.
But just do it. And I mean,
And you're still here.
yeah, I'm still here. I did it. And then you make it work. And sometimes your life has to change, and people have to step up. I'm lucky enough where I was able to leave my other child. His dad was with him and took care of the dogs, and we made it work.
Yeah.
I've heard of other families that they split it. Sometimes the dad goes there and the mom, like they split. You make it work. You make it work. If this is what your kid wants to do, you know. But it is a commitment. It's not something that you can just be like, whatever, if you're serious. If you're not serious,
yeah, then you're gonna just
you'll plateau. You won't get to a level that, if your goal is to be
right,
like I mean, Sky has a goal. We're definitely not there. We're
Yeah.
not where her goal
Yeah.
is. But we're just keep plugging away, you know,
Awesome.
and spread out. My advice, once again, like I said, spread out. She had a sleepover last night. We went over the lines on the way to her girlfriend's house. She
Yeah.
had her phone, I had mine. At the light, I would read my part. She like you make it work, and then that's how you have to do it. You don't just like say, okay, it's study time, and sit at the kitchen table. Do it as you're moving around.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's brilliant. See, that's where I think a lot of people don't get it, is that taking every little bit of extra time that you have. Because I'm like that too, where I go, oh, I have 10 minutes here. I have 10 minutes there. That extra 10 minutes adds up.
It
If
does.
people realize that, you
So
know,
I honestly like. I mean, we've done, we've practiced. We take the dogs for a walk together. Sometimes I'll take her, and we practice as we're walking the dogs.
yeah,
Like it doesn't have to be sitting like really acting it out. I mean, eventually you have to do that before you start taping. But just
right.
when you're learning, when you're trying to memorize your lines, just
Yeah,
do it as you're cooking dinner. I mean, just do it.
exactly.
You know?
Right. No, I
No,
think that's great. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Well, I thank you very, very much for joining me today. Hopefully, this is something we can do more of,
I
and
love it.
just
Yeah,
to, and hopefully I can get some questions from people as to, what they would want to have answered from you too.
yeah.
Because I think your insight is great because you've been doing it for a very long time and you have a very successful daughter, and they would want to know. So
Well,
they
I
will want your
appreciate it. Yeah,
insights.
and
So
gonna keep plugging away. Like I said, this is up right now. I gotta go get her ready for an audition.
perfect. Absolutely perfect.